Okay. Waiting for YouTube. Okay, I'm live. Good morning, everyone. Good evening if you on the other side from me. My name is Elena Semenek, and today it's going to be my first webinar, a live stream webinar, and I'm happy to see everybody who is joining me. Please let me know that you can hear and see me. Let me know where you're from in the chat box on the right side. So before we start, I would like to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a psychologist. I'm the founder of Psychology of Happiness. I graduated the university in Russia in 2004. I received my bachelor degree. 1 year later, I received a degree as a teacher of psychology. And within the last 15 years, I've been learning psychology from different sources. I've been taking a lot of different workshops and seminars. I've been learning NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which is how our brain works, about the behavior patterns and about the thinking errors that we make, about limiting beliefs that's stopping us from reaching our goals. I also learned for about 3-4 years about the family system, family psychology, and the family patterns and family behavior, why one generation is repeating mistakes of another. And I graduated recently from Institute Initiation Therapy. It's also Russian university, and they teach about the maturity, male and female maturity. And basically, when we mature, when we know why things are happening in our life, and we know how to build healthy, loving relationship, we know how to overcome fears, it's all about the maturity, then we can reach any goal and we can create the life that we really want. So I'm the founder of Psychology of Happiness, where happiness is the purpose of life. So what is happiness? And happiness means different things for different people. For one person, it's about love and relationship. For another, it might be about money and success. For a third person, happiness is about friends, family. Somebody might say that being healthy is the goal of life, and it's like having a healthy lifestyle is what makes me happy. It's what's the most important. So no matter what happiness is to you, I believe that everybody wants to be happy, and this is what I teach on my YouTube channel, through my Facebook, on my Instagram. I create free videos for you. I create workshops for you. I offer private sessions where we talk about happiness, how to reach your goals. And today we will also talk about happiness, and we're gonna talk about what's stopping us from being happy. So today I will talk about childhood trauma. What we learn in our childhood affects our adult life. And it's about money, it's about relationship that we have, it's about success in life. Of course, it's about our parents, and it's also related to our health. Okay, let me see if I can see the chat. Yes, I can see the chat. Okay, let's continue. So today we will talk about childhood trauma. In order to be happy, in order to reach success, to make money, to create loving relationship, we need to learn how childhood trauma works. We need to understand why we make specific decisions. We need to understand our behavior, our thoughts, and our reactions. because this is what we use in our daily life to create whatever we have right now. So today I will cover what circumstances leads to formation of traumas and how it affects our adult life. Specifically, I will go over those important things that you can see on the screen right now: money, relationship, parents, health. Of course, it's not new for you guys that trauma, mostly in 99% cases, was created in child-parent relationship, and every family is different. If during this video you will have any questions, any concerns, if you have something to share, please write your questions in chat so you won't forget them. And what I'm gonna say today does not apply to every family. Every family is unique and your situation might be different. I will talk about general information that psychologists collected within last 100 or so years, through their researches, through their practice working with the clients, and you may relate to everything that I'm gonna say today, or maybe only to part of it, and it's also fine. It's also okay. We don't have, all the traumas in our life. We have specific childhood traumas that apply specifically in our family. And as I said, what I'm gonna say, you might be agree, you might be disagree. Please let me know in your comments below, because when I see your comments, I will know which information is more important to you, and I will focus more on that part. Okay. So psychological trauma in 99% happens in a childhood. Psychological trauma is an event that was traumatic for a child, an event that a child could not understand, could not process, and did not know what to do with it. Those traumatic events were so painful, so emotional. The child, in order to survive, hide those feelings inside, somewhere deep inside. So those feelings are still with us because they've been hidden many years ago somewhere deep. We created false logic, which is defensive mechanism. We created specific patterns, specific behaviors, specific reactions in order to hide this trauma. But it's still within us, and it's still growing. Trauma is growing inside us. If we did not process something, then we still have it. And the trauma is growing and asking us to do something about it. The trauma is asking to be healed. For example, if the girl was abandoned by her father, often this girl will attract emotionally or physically unavailable men. It can be a long distance relationship, or it can be a relationship with a guy who's still in love with his ex-girlfriend. So he's emotionally unavailable and she loves him. When this girl breaks up with one guy, she will be attracted to another one, which is gonna have similar feelings towards her. He might say that you're a nice girl, I like spending time with you, but I don't feel that deep connection with you. And he might tell you a lot about his ex-girlfriend, or he might be married, or he might be in love with somebody who's also unavailable. And you might believe that one day he will see and understand that he really loves you, but in reality, this is how trauma works. We love and attract emotionally unavailable man, but in reality he also loves somebody else. So this is a chain that goes from one person to another. Another example, for example, a boy was raised by a mother who worked a lot. She was not able to spend time with him. She was not able to support him when he needed her. And as a result, when a guy grows up, he will be attracted to women who are older than him. So he will look for a woman who will replace his mother, who will give him the love that he did not receive in his childhood. Love versus money. This is also about childhood trauma. For example, this is a story of one of my clients, and she said that I can share it with you, so somebody will learn from her story, from her experience, and might recognize herself in her story. So a girl was growing up in loving, caring, very good family. And one day her dad got promotion at work, and he had to move to another state for a year contract. So the girl was missing her father so much, so unconsciously she created a belief that money and love cannot exist together, because her father left her for money, for the better job, for the better salary. In her mind is like money and love, they cannot be together. So as a result, when she grew up, she was dating poor guys, and she could not understand why every guy that she's dating cannot be successful. And when her boyfriend got an opportunity to be promoted at work, something happened, and their relationship was breaking up. So this is how it works. Another example, also about childhood trauma, is a strong woman, weak guy couple. This is very common, and often this is happening because it might be happening because of several reasons. For example, if a girl was growing up and her father was sick, let's say he had a cancer, he was fighting for 5 years and he survived, but within those 5 years the girl learned that love means care. If you love somebody, you have to care for somebody, you have to do everything for that person. And when she grew up, she was dating a weak guy, because for her, she was looking for somebody who will need her help, a guy who will need her help in everything. So she was helping a guy to pay rent, she was giving them money, she was creating a resume, she was looking for the job for her boyfriend, she was paying in the restaurant, she was paying for food, so she had to do everything. And this was her way to show that she loves him. And often those guys, they are not like bad guys, they really like the care, they might be sensitive, they might appreciate what you do, but in reality it's like a mother-son relationship more than a partner's relationship, and it was formed because of the pain that she had during her childhood. She was taking care of her father for many years, and this is how she learned that if you love somebody, you should do everything for your partner. So let me know what's your family story, what's your pattern, what is the situation that you are struggling with, because usually trauma is not a one-time event. And I'm gonna talk about two types of trauma right now. The first type of trauma is physical trauma, and the second type is emotional trauma. Physical trauma is any trauma that's related to our body. It might be a severe burn during childhood. It might be a car accident, especially when it involves blood, cuts, strong physical pain. It might be actually the story about my grandmother. She almost died in a lake one day. She was learning how to swim, and she went too deep in the water when she felt a strong current. And she remembered that water was all around her, and she literally hit the bottom of the lake. She had to push forward to the shore. This is how she survived. But after that experience in her life. She never learned how to swim, and she was terrified of water all her life. She never went deep. She was always on the shore, and she liked to spend time near the lake, but not inside the water. So this was a very dramatic physical trauma that created psychological trauma later. Of course, physical trauma is also about rape, it's about sexual abuse, it's about beating. Psychological trauma, on the other side, is about emotions. Emotional trauma is a strong emotional pain that related usually to fear of death. The fear that my life is in danger, that my life is nothing, I cannot trust people, I cannot trust the world, I cannot trust men, I'm no one, I'm too small. So this is emotional trauma. For example, when a child was under emotional abuse, for example, under constant shame, when parents were abusing the child with words, shame and blame. Another example of emotional trauma is when a child is growing up with emotionally unavailable parents. When a child is coming to mother and she says something like, "Don't touch me, I'm tired, I'm too busy, close the door, you're annoying me." Another example, when a child is growing up with a sick parent. I already told you the story about the cancer. So this is also, it might be a different aspect. If your parent was sick, then you could not get enough love, a lot of attention, a lot of support from your parent. And of course, those situations create emotional trauma for the rest of your life if you don't do anything about it. The next type of trauma is when a parent was absent. The child did not feel safe. The fear of losing a parent is the same as a fear of death. Parents are the world for their kids, and the parents are the most important people in kids' life. To lose a parent is like to die for the child. The world is breaking apart, and one of the biggest kids' fear is to lose a parent. So fear and anxiety always create childhood trauma, psychological trauma. For example, another example about how big psychological trauma can be. A girl, she saw how a car hit a guy on the street who was crossing the road. And she literally saw how his body went up, did a few circles in the air, and then fall down with a loud sound on the next car. It was blood, it was ligaments, the body was twisted. And this girl, she was only 9. When she grew up, she cannot drive the car. For her, anything that related to car and driving is terrifying. And she was managed to be in the car with somebody that she trusts, but she cannot drive the car herself. Another example also from my childhood about the horror movie. When I was a little girl, we did not really have a horror movie in Russia, but somehow one day I saw it on the television, and it was maybe for 15 or 20 seconds, and it was an episode when the girl was running from a monster. It was like a dog or some type of monster it was dark, of course, it's a horror movie, and the girl was running and it was a fence in front of her. When she was trying to jump over the fence, she bumped into a nail with her knee, and it was blood. She was screaming, and finally the monster who was running behind her grabbed her. For me, it was terrifying, and I knew that I was not supposed to watch horror movie, and of course I did not tell anybody, but I could not fall asleep that night, and I had nightmares for a few days after that. And in my life, it was only one-time event, but I still remember it. So make sure if you have kids, you use parent control and you show them age-appropriate cartoons, movies, TV shows, because a lot of things that for us adults are okay and normal on TV, kids cannot understand, and they feel shy, they feel that they're doing something wrong when they see those episodes, and they usually keep it to themselves. So they hide in the feelings inside, and if the feelings is hidden inside, if the feelings are hidden inside, then you cannot work on them. This is how the trauma gets created. Okay, emotional trauma is an event the child could not understand, could not accept, could not process, something that was so frightening, so painful, terrifying, that caused emotional shock. Trauma creates a belief that world is not a safe place. I'm not safe. I cannot trust people. So the person is growing up with this belief and creates a lot of defensive mechanisms. For example, a very common defensive mechanism is when a person thinks that he can control everything and everyone. When I'm in control, when I'm controlling, every person in my family, when I'm trying to control every person at my work, it feels like I can prevent the danger. And the person is getting stuck in this controlling mechanism. I cannot relax because I have to control everything. Of course, there are a lot of tension. Of course, there are a lot of anxieties. Of course, there are a lot of fears. And the person believes that with control, he can overcome those things. An opposite reaction that can be formed, just a second. An opposite reaction that can be formed from childhood trauma is when the person believes that I am nothing, I cannot do anything, my opinion does not matter, no matter what I do, it's not gonna change anything. So the person is learning how to be a victim and develops victim behavior. The deeper the trauma, the more limiting beliefs we have, the more defensive mechanism we create. And the deeper the trauma, the harder it is to overcome life challenges, the harder for us to make money, it's harder to create a loving relationship, it's harder to find good friends, it's harder to raise kids because we teach them the same useless mechanisms. And those mechanisms, defensive mechanisms, we needed them during the childhood. We needed them to survive. But now they no longer suit us, but we're still using it because we don't know how we cannot live without them. So we try to keep everything under control. We do not trust people, and if we cannot trust people, then we cannot create a happy relationship. Okay, what's questions? Let me see. I see that people are watching. Okay, let me know where you're watching from. What's your city? What's your state, country? Why did you come to this workshop? What is it about? What was the most important for you? What would you like to hear? What would you like to learn about childhood trauma? Okay, in most cases, childhood trauma, as I said, related to our relationship with parents. Parents is somebody who should help a child, who should protect a child, and in reality, often parents create and help to create emotional or physical trauma in their kid's life. For example, a girl was living in a house and her window was facing neighbor's window. One day she saw how they fight. The neighbors were fighting and it was physical fight. She told her single mother, and her mother knew that her neighbors are not, let's say she knew that they are crazy. She knew that they are angry people who scream a lot, and her mother was terrified and she could not go and tell the neighbors not to fight in their house. So instead, she said to her girl, do not forget about it, don't worry about it, don't look through the window. And of course, the neighbors did not stop fighting, and of course, she was noticing their fight, and even if she did not look, she heard, because it was like, across her window. And this is how parents create influence the psychological trauma in their kids' life. A lot of time, parents cannot help us, not because they're bad parents, but because they don't know how to react. Nobody teach them, and they did not receive enough support, enough love, enough attention from their parents. And this is how we pass psychological childhood trauma from generation to generation. We're teaching our kids useless mechanism. We're giving them our false beliefs, limiting beliefs, and we don't know how to teach them to be strong and to overcome the challenges in our life. Let's talk about what affects the depth of the psychological trauma. The deeper the psychological trauma, the harder the adult's life. And number one factor that affects the psychological trauma is age. What is matter is at what age the psychological trauma or traumatic event has occurred. The age when the traumatic event happened. The younger the child, the deeper and stronger the trauma. For example, a mother had cancer and she had a daughter who was 4 years old. Within 5 years, the mother was fighting the cancer. And within 5 years, the daughter was living under the fear that one day she wakes up and won't see her mommy anymore. The family was all around the sick mother, and the daughter could not get a proper support from the rest of the family. They could not explain to her what's happening, but she just felt for years that world is not a safe place, that she cannot trust the world, she cannot trust the God, because her mama is sick. And her mother survived cancer, but for the rest of her life she was living in the fear that I cannot trust the world, I cannot trust what's tomorrow gonna be, I cannot trust in my future. And if the same events, let's say, happen when she is 20, then the psychological trauma is not that deep, because when we are even at 15 years old, we can understand the situation better. We already have a good mechanism that will help us to be complete. We can talk about the trauma when we're not little. We can get another opinion. We can talk to a doctor. We can do a research, and it's easier for us. The older we are, the easier for us to process the information. So the age is one of the most important factors that creates psychological trauma. Not all events create psychological trauma. The red flag or the signs that you have psychological trauma is when a person is saying that before this event my life was amazing, and after this event everything changed. For example, before my mother got cancer, before my parents divorced, before we moved to another state, before my grandfather was alive, or before my grandfather passed away, everything was great. But after, my life changed completely, changed for 100%. It was like black and white. When you can hear that it was black and white, it means that in the middle it was some event that created a deep, strong, painful psychological trauma. The trauma can be formed in adulthood as well, and I would like to share 2 examples about how trauma can be formed in adulthood. The first one is when a woman losing a child. If a woman, for example, pregnant, and she might try to get pregnant for several years. When she got actually pregnant, she got a miscarriage. Or it's also related to women who had a child who died in the first few months of their life. It can create a very deep emotional trauma, and it can be extremely hard to recover from such trauma. Losing a child almost in any age, especially when they're little, is always painful, and it can take not even several sessions. It might take a few years with therapy to overcome this trauma before the person can go back and live the life and be happy. Another example is when a family members got into a car accident and everybody died except one person. So for that person, losing everybody from his family, of course it is a childhood trauma or adulthood trauma. It's gonna create emotional pain so deep that you lose everybody, and the person will be living in thoughts, why God did not take me, what did I do wrong, and the person will lose the purpose of his life. So let's continue talking about the depth of the trauma. And the depth of the trauma depends on if it was physical trauma or emotional trauma. And physical trauma is always come with emotional. So it's deeper, it's more painful, it's stronger, and it's harder to overcome the physical trauma. Example, a child was growing with emotionally unavailable parents, or a child was growing with a sexually abusive parents. Emotional unavailable parents is very hard, but when your parents is also sexually abusing you, it's even deeper. So physical trauma always comes with emotional trauma, and that's why it's much deeper. The next factor that affects the depth of the trauma is repetition. Trauma usually is not one-time event. Trauma is about repetitive events that a child could not handle, could not understand, and could not process. When the mother put a shame on a child and she does it again and again, and every time she is saying to her daughter, let's say, you are stupid, you are fat, you are ugly, you don't understand, you're annoying me, shame on you, and it happening day after day, week after week, year after year. So by the age of 16, the child's self-confidence is low, the self-esteem is low, she cannot respect herself, she cannot love herself, and she feels that she is not worthy for anything. Positive thinking, affirmation are not gonna work in this situation. It only will make it worse. Okay. How to heal your trauma? How to heal childhood trauma? Is it possible to heal it? Yes, it's possible. Every situation is different, and every family is unique. There is no magical way to heal the trauma, and you have to unfold it layer by layer. Your defensive mechanism won't let you to just, to understand, to overcome your trauma like this. You have to unfold it little by little. And the stronger the trauma, the longer will it take to unfold it and to heal it. The stronger the trauma, the deeper the trauma, the harder the emotional event that you had in a childhood, the stronger your defensive mechanism that help you to survive. Your defensive mechanism helped you to survive that event. And now they've been working for you pretty well for years. So you cannot overcome something that was formed within years, within 1, 2, or 3 therapy sessions. But the reality is your defensive mechanism in 99% of a case is no longer suits you. They are limiting you. You created limiting beliefs, and you cannot achieve the life that you want. And I would like to invite you to a journey. I would like to invite you to work on your childhood trauma, to heal your childhood trauma. And I would like to invite you for a 6 weeks online training that's called Healing the Family System. And we will meet online. We will do an exercise. We will do exercises, practice. We're gonna meet once a week, and during the week you will have homework that you will do on your own, and I will support you. You can write to me, and I will support you during all those 6 weeks. And before we're gonna do the training, it's gonna be 3 free webinars. Today is the first one, and even if you're not gonna go, if you're not gonna attend the training, you still can come for those 3 workshops. It's free workshop, free webinars where I tell you about the theory, and the next one will be on May 31st. It's gonna be Friday, and I will tell you the invisible laws of a family, the cause and effect. And the third one will be June 7th, also on Friday, and I will share you information about the family games and how to survive family games. Because we pass the behavior patterns, behavior reactions and belief system from one generation to another, I will show you how to see, how to recognize those mechanisms, and how to survive, how to put them aside and create life that you want. Now I would like to tell you a little bit about the training, so you will know what to expect from this 6-week workshop. So the workshop is going to be from June 14th to July 19th. And if you cannot join online, if you cannot join me online, then all lectures, all exercises and practices will be recorded and available to you for online streaming. I will provide unlimited access for all the materials for all the participants. Who should attend this training? Who wants to find a mutual love and create a loving, caring, fulfilling relationship in his life? This training is for a person who wants to resolve conflicts with parents and relatives, who wants to find life purpose and meaning of his life, who wants to improve his financial situation and open a source of abundance, who wants to improve his health, who wants to connect with his inner spiritual guidance, who wants to feel this inner energy, inner power, who wants to gain self-confidence and develop self-awareness so you can overcome any challenges in your life. And this is going to be a training for somebody who wants to obtain his inner strength and connect with your higher self, to release from childhood trauma and to feel happy and to live a happy life. On the first week, we're gonna talk and do exercises, and we're gonna work with the male line of your family. We're gonna talk about money, success, and protection. We're gonna talk about relationship with grandfathers, uncles, brothers, stepfathers. I will guide you and help you to find a great protection, inner protection, the inner peace with your male generation with the male generation of your family. We will work on how to accept yourself for who you are, how to connect with the divine energy of creation. And the divine energy, the creative energy, is something that you use to create new business, to find new friends, to find your partner in life, to let the cash flow in your life. So this divine creative energy is something, it's like a living force that moves you forward. The next week, the second week, we're gonna talk about the female line of your family. And We will talk about the feelings that usually separate women and men, the anger, the trust issue, the feelings of guilt, shame, and the have to feelings. We're gonna talk about the grandmothers, aunts, sisters, and stepmothers, and usually the feelings of guilt, the feelings of shame, and the feelings you have to comes from a female part of the family. Then gradually on the third week, we're gonna talk about the fathers and trust in men. You're gonna rebuild relationship with your father. You're gonna find the inner peace within yourself. Even if your father is no longer alive or you're not talking to him, it's very important to find the inner peace with your father. I will teach you how to overcome fears and anxiety. I will give you an exercise how you can obtain that deep feeling inside that my life is safe and my life is protected. I will show you how you can gradually, step by step, start trusting and creating trust in your relationship. And I will give you an exercise how you can attract the responsible partner in your life, so you don't have to do everything for your partner. Or if you are dating somebody, or if you are in a relationship, then I will show you how improve your current relationship and how to give the responsibility that do not belong to you back to your partner. And of course, we're gonna talk about the inner peace and having the peace and harmony in your life. The fourth week will be about femininity, sexuality, youth, and abundance. And of course, it's all about the relationship with the mother. We're gonna recreate the inner relationship with your mother. Again, same as with the father. Your mother might not be in your life anymore, or in real life it might be very hard to rebuild the relationship, but we're gonna talk about the inner relationship, how to find the inner peace. We're gonna do several exercises, how to accept the body, the way your body, how to accept the way you look, the way you talk, the way you walk, basically how to accept yourself. How to connect with your femininity, how to connect with your sexuality and with your beauty. And it's going to be an exercise about opening a spiritual channel of abundance, so you can have an abundance channel in your life and you can see a lot of opportunities that life is offering you. And we're going to work on ability to receive love, to receive money, to receive support, to receive care in your life. A lot of time life is giving us new opportunities, new people, somebody who is willing to help us, who is willing to take care of us, but we do not see it or we don't know how to accept it. The fifth week will be about reprogramming your mind for love and self-confidence. After we work with the male and female line of your family, with mother and father, it's gonna be time to release the limiting beliefs that you have, to release the defensive mechanisms that you no longer need. And it's gonna be time to install new programs for love, new programs for self-confidence and for abundance. We're gonna work on self-esteem, self-acceptance. On the next level, it's gonna be layers. Remember, I was telling you that you have to unfold it layer by layer. So we're gonna go back again here to work on self-love, self-acceptance, and we're gonna learn how to connect with the inner power inside you. And the final week is very important. It's gonna be like a wrapping week. We're gonna talk about the blessing, how to feel, because the person without the blessing is the person that does not have support behind him. And the blessing is the feeling that you have inside about yourself. Blessing for love, blessing for abundance, blessing for healthy lifestyle. We're gonna do an exercise when you can connect to your generation, the generation that comes before you, where you're gonna feel that your life is important. And we're gonna talk about the blessing and actually do an exercise when you can feel the blessing for success, feel the blessing to have the best things in life, feel the blessing to have healthy, happy, caring, loving relationship. It's gonna be a week where we're gonna reveal self-worthiness, a week where you're gonna connect to your divine power and accept your new life with dignity. And of course, we're gonna talk how not to go back to your old life, to your old beliefs system, and how to overcome challenges that will come to you, in your new life. And there are 3 options how you can attend this training. The first one is the standard package, when you come for 6 weeks of training and you send your questions by email. The second option is VIP package, when you come for 6 weeks of training, plus you get 6 private sessions with me. So once a week after a training, after each week of training, we meet online and I give you additional exercises specifically that will help you to overcome your psychological trauma, your childhood trauma. As I said, every family is different, and with the VIP package you will have an opportunity to work specifically on your trauma one-on-one with me. And the third way of how you can attend this training is through partial attendance. If you want to come just for 1 or 2, maybe 3 topics within those 6 weeks, you're welcome to do it, and you can pay just for this specific topic. And of course, I have bonuses and discounts, and if you invite a friend, then each of you will receive 30% off. All the prices and detailed information about each week and the sign up form you will find on my website. I will leave all the links below. Also, if you have any questions about the training, any questions, maybe not about the training, but just something that's really bothering you, something that worries you, you can ask it for free on my website. Also, the link will be below. Let me know what was the most important for you in this lecture. What questions do you have, so I can cover them in the next webinar. And if you have any questions, of course, you can write them below in the comment box or through my social media, Facebook and Instagram. Usually I reply faster and better via email when you fill out the form on my website, because every morning I wake up, I check my email, and sometimes I don't have time to answer questions on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you very much for watching this free live webinar. My name again, Elena Semenek, and this is Psychology of Happiness, where happiness is the purpose of life. Looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks for the next webinar, which is going to be about family laws, invisible family laws, about the cause and the fact of our family. Okay, see you next time. Bye-bye.